This is Alex Mahoney with Coda Financial Coaching, and I'm so excited for the first time to get into the Monarch Money personal finance app today. I absolutely love this app. It is so much better than Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar or You Need a Budget. And by the way, I want to say I am not sponsored by Monarch Money. I'm not getting a dime from them. I sincerely love this application and believe it is the only app right now that really brings your full budgeting and wealth picture together into one place. So today, I really want to get into two of the main features that you need to be aware of if you're beginning your personal finance journey. And that is the budget and the goals feature. Now, the goals feature is related to the budget. We're going to get into that in a little bit here. So let's start with the budget. Now, everything you're seeing here is already delivered within Monarch Money. I did not need to do any setup. The only setup I really did, because it's a demo account, is inputting the numbers for the budget. This budget is really meant to reflect somebody who is squarely in the middle class, at least in the United States. And I also put in a few sample transactions. Now, Monarch Money, its AI will automatically assign transactions to the budget, and it'll build the budget itself based on your past transactions. Now, of course, we don't want to take that budget at face value that Monarch Money automatically sets up for you. We do want to be intentional about it, and that's something that you do with a coach, but something to be aware of that when you set this up, when you link all of your accounts to Monarch Money, it's going to automatically create a budget, and it's also going to categorize transactions against that budget. I would say the categorization is going to happen with about 95% accuracy. So that's just amazing to me, that taking out all of that kind of beginning stress of getting your budget started, Monarch Money does that. And from there, you can work with your financial coach to tweak that budget to your aspirations and goals. So anyway, let's get into the nuts and bolts and just go from top to bottom here. So beginning at the top here, you have your income here. As you can see, already very intuitively flowing. You have your available money. Once again, this is really meant to just reflect somebody who is squarely in the middle class here. And you see at the top, this gray band. So this is your budget group right here. So you can add categories within that budget group and keep everything organized in one place. So right now we have our paychecks coming in for October, as well as some interest earned off of our emergency fund high yield savings account that we have here. Then we get down here into our expenses. So you can see here that we have our expenses category, and you also see we have this sub classification, I'll call it, called fixed. Now, this is, again, not something that I did. This is something that Monarch Money does. And for me, this is really super intuitive here, keeping fixed expenses, stuff that you're going to incur every month, in one place. So this is kind of your baseline, like, hey, I know every month that this amount is coming out of my paycheck. So, you have your auto loan right here. You have your rent payment. You have your gas and electric. For this purpose, I just grouped gas and electric, water, whatever else, all into one. Internet and cable, etc. So all of these, are going to be the same every month. Now, you could argue that, for example, gas and electric is variable, but I think the point Monarch Money put it in fixed because it's something that you're going to incur in every month, and maybe you adjust it up or down $20 depending on seasonality. So after that here, you get to your flexible part of the budget. And of course, this is meant to be things that you still are incurring on a regular basis, but that can vary. So maybe you're going to be, commuting farther than normal, so that gas would go up. Maybe you have a special concert, so that entertainment and recreation budget is going to go up that month, and you have to make up for it somewhere else. But what I really like here in the flexible budget is you can see right here that you actually have to set the top line amount. So I think that is a really nice way for Monarch Money to enforce discipline here by setting that flexible budget. So basically saying, yes, you do have a budget with money to play with between the categories. You don't need to keep those categories fixed each month. But if one category goes up, then another category's got to go down that month. So that's a really nice way of enforcing your budget goals right there and holding you accountable. So, and your coach can work with you to come up with that flexible number and then have all of these numbers vary each month in between months here. So I really like that feature. Non-monthly right here. So this is, I like this feature too. This is for things that you're not necessarily going to incur each month, obviously, but things like gifts that maybe you're saving for Christmas and you have a big family, you got to get a bunch of gifts. And hey, even though it's it's October now, but let's say it's only June. Well, I don't want that to hit my budget at Christmas. So I'm going to start saving for my gifts now. And I'm going to put aside $50 now. Now, this is a feature I really like too. If you click on this gear icon here, you can actually here make this category a rollover fund. So you can track what the balance in this is. And let's say that when it comes to Christmas time, you haven't spent nearly as much on gifts as you thought you would. So what that allows you to do is have that amount as a rollover amount, and then you know that you don't have to budget as much in January 2026 because maybe you were cheap with family members and didn't get them all the presents that they wanted. So you have some left over to save for gifts for next year, birthday gifts and whatnot. So here, the most important feature is this starting balance here. If you already have part of your bank account allocated to gifts, you can designate a start point for that. And maybe you're already towards your goal, so you don't want to save as much, but that just really is a good tracker right there to say, well, I already have this money in my bank account set aside. And a more advanced way, by the way, of doing that is goals. We're going to get into that there. And then you can have your target amount like, hey, in order to stop budgeting for this each month, I need this target amount. Now, this is very similar to goals again. We're going to get into that, but that's a nice little feature right there to have both your starting balance and your target amount to tell you that you're not going to need to budget anything anymore. So really nice feature right here. And you also have here left to budget. It's telling you that, hey, of my $6,030 here, after my flexible and my fixed expenses and my non-monthly expenses, I have 1,220 left to budget here. And you can see here in each category that there is, and sorry, there's a dog barking in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but you can see here that there are categories that I haven't filled out, but are still available there. Once again, this is all set up from Monarch Money. I didn't need to add this, but we do have the option if we don't want all this fluff. Right now I don't have any kids, so I'm going to delete that childcare right there. Same thing here, go down to flexible. You have a lot of different options that are delivered right out there. So Monarch Money is already helping you think about your budget before you even start it and covering all your bases, making sure that you're not missing any potential budget items there. So really nice feature there. All right. So one more thing I want to show before we go to goals. Of course, we have the actual expenses coming in. And once again, the Monarch Money AI does a great job of classifying these expenses here. So you can see that I had $1,500 in rent to the Rent Too Dang High Inc. Company right there. You can go back in your budget. Let's see what we spent on internet and cable right here. You have 80 right here. It's showing the vendor, the cable guy right there. So you can really get in, and you can see it has a nice graphic. Right now we only have a budget for October, so it's just showing October, but it's going to show a nice graph of that expense each month if you have multiple months of data. Very nice feature right there. And we'll do one more right here. We'll go down to the flexible category and do our groceries. We've only spent 200 here, and you can see we have patronized Trader Schmoes right here. And once again, Monarch Money is pretty much 95% accuracy categorizing these transactions correctly here. And one other thing I do want to show, and I believe it is in transactions right here. Let's say something isn't being categorized correctly. First of all, you can see in this transactions, you can see a running feed of all your transactions here. But if something is not going into the right category, and you know that that vendor each month is going to go to a certain category, you can go to this edit rules feature and create a rule. And right here, super intuitive. Most of the time we see it's based on the merchant name, right? So we want to say if it contains Trader Schmoes, I think that's how I spelled it in the other screen here. Then we want to update the category, and we want that category to go to, let's scroll down here to groceries. Scrolled right past it. So really nice feature right there, and you have that rule. You have that rule here, and it's never going to categorize it again. That's a one and done setup to make that rule to properly categorize that budget item. Okay. So that's really an overview of the budget. Once again, just super intuitive. Love the flow of that budget. Love the layout between the fixed, the flexible, and the non-monthly goals or non-monthly budget items there. All right, so next let's get into our goals here. So this is a super nice feature that really allows you for a big ticket expense item that you want to save towards. This allows you to track that and budget towards it. And Monarch Money then takes it a step further and allows you to allocate a part of a fund towards that goal. Or I'm sorry, not a part of a fund, a part of a savings account towards that goal. The other apps just do not offer that feature. So we're going to show you how that's done right here. So we don't have any goals yet, so I'm just going to click that Get Started right here. And the first thing I want to set as a goal is an emergency fund. And I actually do have an emergency fund already set up in this application here. So I'm really just creating that goal to tag money within that high yield savings account for Monarch Money budget purposes. All right, so I'm going to choose the emergency fund there, and then I'm going to go to next, and I'm going to say that I want to save 9,000 here, and that would be, you know, about maybe 3 months worth of expenses, right? You know, living on a very meager budget that right there if you lost your job or something. So I'm going to hit next right there. Hit next again, or I'm sorry, I'm going to add right here. I'm going to go and add an account here. And this Ally account, this is my high yield savings account right here. So I'm going to toggle that on, and I'm going to uncheck that. And I'm going to make 9,000 of that balance allocated to the emergency fund here. And my goal right here is also going to be, okay, it says how much do you currently allocate to each of your goals. I actually want $0 because I've already met that emergency fund, right? So I'm just going to hit next again. And right now I have my emergency fund of 9,000 in my goals. Now, okay, let's say now within that savings account, I also want to save towards, I own a condo, for example, and I know that there's probably a big repair coming down the line. I don't want to be caught by surprise with my budget. So I want to save $3,000 towards emergency home repairs right here. Actually, my boiler went out a couple years ago, and let me tell you, that thing was expensive. So this is definitely something you want to do right here. So I'm going to go and create another goal here. I'm going to go to add goals. And I'm just going to also make this an emergency fund. I don't think they have a category for house repairs here, but I'm just going to choose emergency fund since that's the closest. And I can actually rename this here. So I'm going to rename this to expensive house repairs. Can't spell here. I'm going to hit save and I'm going to go to next. And I'm going to say that I want to save $3,000 there. And I'm going to add the account too. I'm going to once again add that ally account. And I'm going to allocate the rest of the balance of that total. What is it? $10,885.62. I'm going to allocate the rest of that balance to the expensive house repairs goal right here. I'm going to hit done and go to next. And I'm going to say that I want to budget for this. I've already hit my emergency fund goal. I don't need to budget anything there, but I want to budget, let's just say $100. So I'm going to budget $100 a month until I reach that 3,000 number right there. All right, and it's Monarch's Money is doing its thing again here. All right, so let's go back to our budget now. And if we scroll all the way down to our goals, you'll notice right here, expensive house repairs now has a budgeted amount under goals right here. And my left to budget has been reduced to 1,120. So I love this section. I like it actually more than non-monthly because really this is big ticket items that you're not actually spending money on each month, but that you still want to set aside money for, and you still want to know what part of the balance in your high yield savings account, whatever vehicle you use to save towards that goal, is allocated towards that particular goal. So that's all I have for today. Drop any comments that you guys have, anything else you want to see in this app, any questions. I personally love it. If you want to have an accountability partner during your journey, I'm happy to help you build this budget, show you other features. But that really is a good starter pack right there, going with that budget and that goals to get you started on your personal finance journey. All right, everybody, I'm out. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon.